Many times we try to hide these parts of ourselves and hope nobody notices it, but actually, deep, painful stories are one of the most powerful catalysts and connection points with our ideal clients. You are listening to Amplify Your Success Podcast, episode 430. And today I'm going to take you into the fourth and most powerful differentiator, and that's your brand energy. You ready for this? Let's get started. Welcome to the Amplify Your Success podcast. Get ready to ramp up your revenue, amplify your impact, and make your mark in the world. This is the show for experts, thought leaders, and service professionals who want to shatter their limits and achieve that next level. You're going to find out from other experts and influencers how they made it. Now, let's get amplified. Hey there, inspired entrepreneurs and ripple making experts. It is Melanie Benson, your host here. And today we're talking about differentiation. And I'm going to recap 3 commonly understood areas of differentiation. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about what I call the fourth differentiator, and that's your energetics. And this is where I'm seeing a lot of transformation right now. There's a lot of power in really leaning into this part of your differentiation. We all have it, but many of us don't know how to share it in a way that doesn't propel us deep down into a spiral shame or a shame spiral. And so we avoid these parts of ourselves. But as you're going to see, this is a really, really powerful part of what bonds us and connects us with our ideal clients. So let's start by recapping the 3 commonly understood differentiators. And I've covered this before. I'll link it up in the show notes, so you can go back and revisit these in a deeper way if you're trying to learn how to differentiate yourself. And this is a big part of what we do in Authority Accelerators, really kind of unlock your differentiation area so that it's authentic. And really common is what you might consider your demographic, or the who do you want to work with, and really choosing a niche or a specialty area of who you want to work with. So instead of it being all entrepreneurs, it might be female founders who started a business that's now at 50,000 a month or more, right? Okay, so that would be just an example. The second differentiator is how you differentiate what you sell or what you do, right? And so a lot of times people can specialize and really stand out in this way of just really becoming known for something. So, like, I'm known for helping people boost their authority, or as now is coming to light, reinvent their authority. And so that would be a specialty area. It's like, how do you reinvent your authority? Or you might solve, like one of my clients, she solves the problem of overwhelm for parents of high needs children who have a lot of neurodiversity. So that might be a specialty area. Now, the third specialization area or differentiator could be, all right, so I am now going to differentiate by double niching. So I'm going to focus on who and what. So, taking my example, I help experts who've been in business for at least 10 years and are reinventing themselves to reinvent their authority and what they're known for, right? So that might be a double niche. So the who and the what. But here's where things get really interesting. And, when we're in a complicated market, a lot of the kind of common levers, the things that have always worked, stop working. It's like the niches don't perform as well. You lose your ground in a certain community, or you become obsolete because the what you're doing, there's so many other ways to get there that people feel like they don't need to spend money on that. This is a thing that no one else can replicate. No one else can, no technology can really pull this for you. And this is where you can stand out and really not just capture attention, but deeply bond with people. And that's your energetics. Nobody else has the same energetics as you. So here's how, as an expert, maybe you're a coach or a thought leader, you're a consultant, a trainer, you're somebody who you have wisdom to share, you sell your wisdom, you teach others how to replicate or learn from what you've learned, what you've discovered in the world. This is how you can stand out even more. And there's 5 key areas. One is your signature vibe. Okay, you have an energetic frequency. You have a way of being. And, you might be bold and fiery, or you may be very deep and introspective. Maybe you're more on the introverted side and you've got a softer touch. Maybe you're very direct, but also very kind and loving. Maybe you're super playful and you bring a lot of fun and joy to everything you do. Whatever it is, you have a unique presence. And that presence is creating an emotional imprint that makes you memorable. And it's also going to either create resonance or create repelling energy. And that's good. You want your signature vibe, your presence, the way people experience you to become a magnet. And it's going to pull towards what is, the people that need that and resonate with that. And it's going to repel the people that that's not their vibe, that's not interesting to them. So, like, I have a friend who's really well known to be a super tough, very no nonsense coach. Now, that wouldn't be for me. That's not what would resonate for me. But she's definitely got a very successful business, and she has like people who want that and need that. Whereas I tend to be more calm and nurturing, and I tend to be very like energetically like present, and I see right through people's stuff. But I like have a huge capacity and a lot of grace for people. And so, your vibe is speaking louder than your words. It's going to come through your conversations. It's going to come through your video. It's going to come through your marketing. It's going to be experienced in every way you're touching people. And the more you can bring that to the front and let people experience the real you, the more compelling that can be. So, number one is your vibe. Really own it. Second is really deepening your emotional resonance through storytelling. So I made this mistake for many, many years, is like I thought people needed more information. And information's great, but people really don't need more information. They want transformation. And transformation comes through the ability to emotionally and deeply feel what's possible and take action and integrate what has to happen to get there, right? So people connect emotionally with you through the stories you tell, through the words you use. And where I see a lot of things fall flat is not enough emotional storytelling, not just some like high level story of like, I did this and then I did that and here's how I got there, but stories that evoke emotion in the reader. This is what starts the journey of transformation, which begins with awareness. Awareness is like, I resonate with this, I see myself in this, and I want to do something about it. So the more you can evoke emotion in your stories, in your examples, in your metaphors, in everything you do and everything you're putting out, the more deeply people will resonate with this. So I deeply and profoundly believe that stories make you memorable. And I always remember this moment when I was speaking at an event and I was coming off the elevator to go take stage, and a woman was standing on the other side of the elevator door when it opened, and she was like, "Oh my God, are you Melanie Benson?" And so having one of those weird moments where I'm like, "Okay, what's happening here?" And she said, I'm literally here because of what you talked about on the pre-event series. I had been interviewed before we got there about what I was going to teach at the event. And she's like, I literally signed up that day because you spoke exactly to the problem my husband and I are having right now. Because I talked about my journey and what wasn't working and then what started working and how I was going to bridge those gaps at the event. And she was there because of that. So storytelling works. Storytelling moves people into action. And the more emotional you can connect with people and deeply resonate with them, the more in action they can be. Okay, number three, authenticity through your unfiltered personality. Look, we all have quirks. We all have funny things that are unique about us. We have habits, we have hobbies, we have a life beyond the work we do. And the more we can bring that through, the more people bond with us. So look, we can't, we cannot compete on all levels of marketing, of selling, of team, of working harder with people who are at a different level of success than we are. But what we can do is bond with people in our uniqueness. Okay, so one of the things about me that I started talking more about, and it's a funny little quirk, is that I am like a closet paleo gourmet chef. And if you are more diet conscious or health conscious and you don't like eating that way because you feel like you're missing out on all the fun food, that's probably intriguing to you, right? So that's kind of one of my unique things about me on a personal level that resonates with people. I've also talked a lot about my health journey and how difficult it's been to kind of manage business growth when my body was not happy and was really struggling in my autoimmune issues. So that's been part of my authentic expression. But I also know people that their quirkiness really leads the show. Like they may have like quirky hairstyles, or they have right now it's very popular to have different colored hair, and that becomes part of your brand energy and what you're known for. Okay, so it may be you have certain color scheme of the, or you have a certain like, hey, I work 4 hours a day because the rest of the time I'm with my kids because I homeschool, whatever it is, like really bring that forward and let that be a part of what makes you instantly recognizable and relatable. Okay, so authenticity. And there's a I'm just gonna bridge this one to four with just remembering that there is a difference between your quirks and what you want to be known for, what can help you stand out in a very authentic way, and leaning into your wounds and your origin story as a catalyst for connection. Okay, so now we're going to talk about core wounds. And this is something that was very hard for me to embrace. And it truly took a major kind of meltdown in my world and in my business for me to embrace more of this because I was just talking with a friend of mine and we were talking about the fact that we grew up in the paradigm of the expert has to have it all together. Like we have to be revered for our perfection and our ability to have it all right. I literally had a friend tell me early on, like, you can't have that problem. Like, I look up to you in this area. And so, we build this story of like, I have to have my shit together. I have to have all of my stuff figured out or nobody's going to want to learn from me. Well, let me just tell you that our wounds, our traumas, our meltdowns, the things that cause us to fall apart, this is what makes us bondable. This is what makes us relatable. And sometimes our deepest transformation becomes our greatest brand pillars. And you're going to notice I'm going to be sharing even more about a lot of this as it relates to being visible, as it allows our, for us to be witnessed as a leader and as an expert. And you don't want to share the wound when it's gaping and bleeding, but the scab, the scar has power. And so recognizing that you can speak to these things from a place of healed or healing that's very powerful and very catalyzing to the people who most need what we do. And so there's a way to build an authentic bridge of trust from the world that your ideal clients are in and the world that you're now in by sharing your journey, how you moved from that place of pain to the place that you are today, even if it's not completely finished, right? We don't have to be perfect, but a work in progress and a lot of transparency there can be very, very powerful for the people that are relating to the work that we put out in the world. So that's number four. And number five is what I would call really claiming a bold stance. So this is where our thought leadership, our uniqueness, the message that I call a lighthouse message is meant to stand out and be part of our attraction factor. And I think a lot of people, especially people who have a bold claim or want to make a big change in a conversation, it's oftentimes scary to put that out there and to let that be part of what is our known factors. It's like, can I really say that? Can I really put that out there and not get ostracized or trampled or traumatized by the bullies? Well, I can't help you with what happens once you put it out there, but what I do know is when you're sovereign, when you're powerful, when you've owned and claimed your conversation and you're ready to be witnessed at that level, bolding up a bit with your message is a very powerful way to cut through the noise, change the conversation, and have people come to you. And this is a way to let your energy, your business energetics stand for themselves. Like when you claim your conversation and you're fully owning that and you've embodied that, that's powerful. Where this breaks down a little bit, I think, is if you are testing the waters on something and you haven't fully embodied it. You're not living it. You're not in incongruence with it. You haven't owned it. You haven't really claimed your stake around it, and it's shaky. So this is where I see a lot of power emerging right now in our marketplace. And I think this is an opportunity. And yes, sometimes we have to do the work. Interestingly enough, this is what comes up a lot in Authority Accelerators. Like, okay, how do I claim this part of me that's been a little shaky? How do I deepen my ability to speak to this thing that I don't even fully understand yet, right? So there's ways to do that. And I think when you really own it, it doesn't have to be all worked out. As one of my first coaches used to say, if you're 10 to 15 steps ahead of the clients that you serve, you're going to feel like a lighthouse rather than you're going to not fall flat, right? You're not going to be like a repellent. So what are you noticing as you think about the brand energetics and where there's an opportunity for you to really step up your game or really lean more deeply into your uniqueness so that your work acts like a tractor beam pulling people to you that need it or want to help amplify the reach of it through opportunities? And what have you been afraid to say yes to? What have you been afraid to do? I mentioned mine is a little bit on that for the core wounds. There was always a little bit of fear or shame of like, oh my gosh, can I really, own that and put that out there? And yes, you can. You can, and it's actually powerful. I'd love to hear what's resonating for you. Wherever you like to do social media, you can drop into my DMs. You can drop a little note in the comments, or you can always hit us up at coachmelanie@melaniebenson.com. I want to hear from you. What is speaking to you today? What are you going to take ownership of as you really embrace your brand energetics as that fourth differentiator? Thanks for tuning in today, Amplifier. We're going to keep this conversation going, and I want to hear from you how you're going to amplify your authority and make a greater impact. Before you go, please take a minute to give our show and our guests some love over on your favorite podcasting platform. Subscribe, rate, and review. Leave your full name, and I'll spotlight you and your authority on social media.